Good morning. Let me just check that we're all on live. Here we are this morning. Good morning, everybody. What a beautiful day. I've changed rooms. I'm sitting in the front room and I'm enjoying the sunshine this morning. Totally looking forward to having chats about difficult conversations this morning. Oh, let me turn that down. Okay, beautiful. So this morning I'm super excited. A lot of people have trouble having difficult conversations. That's not easy. That's why it's difficult conversation. I think we've talked a lot about in the group about setting expectations. So making sure that people understand where we're coming from and setting those expectations so that you know where you stand. Everybody knows where they stand. And that sets a clear line, a clear sheet for everybody. This is what it is. It still doesn't make having those conversations when someone steps outside of those boundaries any easier. It can be quite challenging to pull someone up and say, hey, I'm not too happy with the way this is going. So essentially what today's class is about how do we have those conversations more effectively. So listen to, I'm just about to share a screen. So bear with me while I get this sorted. Am I sharing my screen right? Can everybody see that? Fantastic. Difficult conversations. First of all, the first tip I can give you about having a difficult conversation is think about it and plan it. Something happens when we try to do things off cuff. A lot of people can be quite good at this, actually, just having that conversation off cuff. But if you're not used to having these difficult conversations and you want to make sure that you get your point across in the most positive way possible and the most supportive way possible, but setting those boundaries quite firmly, then it's important that you plan the conversation. What are we going to say when we have those conversations? Something happens when we start writing it down. Something happens, it starts to organize our thoughts. It's like a download from a computer. So when we start to organize our thoughts and put them on paper, they may not make sense when you're scribbling them out on the paper, but it starts to reorganize them. So start to list the words that you want to feel, you know, in this particular situation, or list the outcomes that you want to have happen and make it positive. So I don't want this to happen anymore is actually a negative. It's a negative because there's a don't in there, and the subconscious mind doesn't hear the don't, it just hears the part after. So it's like talking to a child and you say to a child, don't run. All they hear is run. So what do? Run. Instead, if we talk in the language of positives and we say, hey, can you walk? Then you start to feel aligned and you're laying out the pathway quite easily. Now, that's a very simple observation with children, but it works just the same with people. So list how you want things, how you want to feel instead of how you are feeling, and try and make them positive. I want to feel more empowered at work. I want to feel comfortable having these conversations with you. I want to feel supported by my team. I want to feel, so start listing those out. Really important that you get that feeling of how you want to feel, even in that conversation. I want to feel assertive in that conversation. I want to feel strong in that conversation. So making sure that you're starting to prepare yourself for having a positive conversation. What do you want to change about the situation? What is the situation that you're in, and what needs to happen? And how can you make that happen? For example, I need to actually talk to one of my employees about how they answer the phone at work. So I start talking to them. So I start thinking about, well, I'm not happy. What am I not happy with? The way they answer the phone. To the core, why? Why am I not happy with that? Something doesn't sit right with me. I think they're a little bit too abrupt on the phone. So I want to make sure that that person can now be calmer and more patient on the phone with my customers. So write that down. That's what I want to change. I want to change that situation. List things down, prioritize them and categorize them. So make a list of things that you want to have happen. Make sure you prioritize the most important things and categorize them. Now, when you're coming to talking about people in your teams, it's important to consider something. Behaviors can be quite difficult to change and manage, okay? So it's really important to focus on performance, okay? And that's quite different. The behaviors are innate things that we've developed over time that will take time to change. We can address these through performance though. So it's quite important to remember if someone's behavior is quite negative, that can be quite difficult to change, very difficult to manage. However, if you relate that to the performance of that particular employee and their role, that's where things can start to change. And if you can do that in a positive and constructive way, even better, that means that you're able to then connect the behavior to the performance and change it. So what's an example of that? Someone always being late to work, excuse me, that's a behavior and their attitude around it. And so they're quite flippant about it. And then, you know, they leave whenever they want. They're never quite, you know, they go and take a lunch break. They don't let anyone know. And, you know, that's a behavior. That's oh yeah, whatever. I'm just going to do my bit and don't really care. Or that's might be what it comes across as to you. That's your perception of the situation. But let's relate that back to performance and the team's performance. And you can say, okay, I feel quite frustrated when you're late to work because I feel as though it's letting myself and the team down. If it's a time-sensitive job, then you can say, you know, I need you here to support the team at this time because that's when everyone's here. You need to start answering the phones, or, you know, you need to, it's important that you're on time in order to whatever it might be. So you can start having that conversation around that. And this employee might start to think, hey, okay, well, I hadn't thought of it like that before. You know, when you just take off and leave for lunch, you need to let someone know so that someone can cover your shift, or just let us know that you're heading out for lunch. It's not a big deal. You know, those sorts of little things can, if you link that to those behaviors to the team performance or individual performance, and say, look, you know, I really need you to start considering the outcomes of this, then that may start to change those behaviors, especially if you can link it to a team or supporting yourself. You know, I need you to be here at a certain time because now it's very challenging in the current situation that we're in. It may be the conversation around, I just need you to be available. I'm having difficulty reaching you. Can I understand why? So that's those sorts of things can be easily nailed on the head if we're listing and prioritizing those. We're looking at the behaviors, but we're actually linking it back to the performance. Define how you want the situation to be. So let's be clear with our expectations. Here's how I would like things to happen. Get organized. So, get everything in order. Plan your conversation. Plan how you'd like to go. And I'll give you some more tips about actually having the conversation in a moment. Excuse me. Active listening is the first step to having a difficult conversation, and it's important, and it's the biggest thing about communication. I think, I hear it everywhere. 2 ears, 1 mouth. We should be listening more than we speak, especially if we're in a management situation. It's really important that we are active listeners. So let's go through what active listening is. Stop what you're doing and give full attention. Have you ever tried to talk to someone who's sitting on their phone? Yeah, I'm listening. How do you feel? If you can't concentrate on the conversation that you're having with your team member or your employee, they're not going to respect what you're saying because they're not going to feel heard. Ensure that you make eye contact. Really important. It shows that you're actively listening and engaging in that person. Listen to respond, not to react. This is a big one. A lot of the times we go in and we're like, this is how we want the conversation to go. And you've planned this beautiful conversation to have with your team member, and you're quite confident about it now, and you want to go in there and have this positive conversation. But you don't want to get derailed from that. So you keep talking. You're not listening though. It's like, and if you keep trying to drag them back, you're actually not listening to respond. You're listening to react. So whilst you've got your plan there, which is a great guideline, make sure that you're still listening to that person and that they can have that time with you so that you can respond. So you're listening out for key words in there, and you're actually listening to what the person's saying so that you can respond to them with the information in your plan if it suits. If not, don't be afraid to be derailed a little bit. And repeat back what that person has said to make sure that you understand, but repeat it back in your words. So that's really the 4 key points to becoming an active listener, which is really important to having difficult conversations. If you can't listen to someone to respond, you're not responding to that person, you are reacting to that person. And if they say something, it may trigger you. It's like, oh, well, you did this, and you, whoa, hang on a minute. And it's easy to react back. But as a leader, what we need to be doing is responding to those comments. I understand how I understand how you feel in that situation. But in my perspective, that's what happened. So it's really important that we can sit back and respond to people. Otherwise, we end up just being a little dictatorial, and nobody wants that in a manager. Nobody wants to just simply be told what to do and not feel heard. That's really important. It's part of a connection that we want out of all of life, not just in a work situation. Make sure you take notes afterwards. Yeah, don't take notes while you're sitting there talking to someone. Again, it's a distraction. It's eyes down. You want to make sure that you can actually see the person. But straight after the conversation, take the notes. Okay, that way you are present for that person. Your energies are connected. You're visually connected, and you're able to communicate effectively. That is a massive thing. So make sure you're planning uninterrupted time so that you can give that person full attention. Have a plan, but make sure that you're not continually trying to drag the conversation back without actually listening to that person and hearing what they say. Repeat back what they say so that you can actually understand, and so that they feel as though you've understood the situation. That's key. You need to understand each other. Take notes afterwards. All right, now we're all great active listeners. So let's shift into the how of the conversation. This is a really great way to structure conversation. Works great with kids too. Just an FYI. Communicate your I statements, okay? I statements in conversations are great for communicating an expectation without blame, without shaming, or without being critical. Because what you're doing, instead of saying you have, you did, you're saying I feel, I need. Okay, you're bringing it into yourself. Great leadership tools. This is really, really important to becoming great leaders of great teams, because you're accepting the accountability. So the I statements in the conversation are less likely to actually provoke a reaction and more likely to allow the person to be heard. The benefits of the I statements in these conversations are there's less blame. So there's no, you told me this, no, but I heard this. There's none of that. It it invites open communication. It encourages a response, not a reaction. This is important. I don't know if you've ever been in a conversation with someone, and it happens with my husband all the time. We'll have a conversation and it starts out okay, and then it heads to but you said this, no, you said this, and how does it make you feel? It escalates, it's an attack. It feels like an attack when you are only trying to explain something, but it feels like an attack. So it's important to say I feel, because then you're sitting there, I feel as though you're owning your half of the conversation. You're owning your own perspective. Now, your perspective may be different to that of the other person in the conversation. So it's about, I feel, I have, I need, and it invites open conversation. And hopefully the other person there sitting there can start to pick up on that and say, I'm sorry you felt like that. Now I understand a bit more. And it's a mature conversation. It's a very mature way to have a conversation without blame and without provoking reactions. Now, how do we have those conversations? In the situation, here's how it goes. So these are the tips to structuring your conversation, and please feel free to plan this beforehand. It's very easy to do. So express your issue explicitly and then give context around the issue. We'll go into examples after this. Express what you feel about the situation. I feel disappointed. I feel frustrated. I am, I can't keep up on top of my work because you're letting me down. Or no, don't say you're letting me down. I feel let down. I feel let down, not you're letting me down. I feel let down. And express why. Because be honest and straight to the point. Ask for the other person's perspective. 5 key points to structuring a difficult conversation. Hopefully, you'll get some benefit out of this. In my leadership toolbox, this has been the key to having great, productive, supportive conversations. And that can be, what performance management, that could be just pulling someone up on a task. Really constructive conversations happen in these 5 steps. So here's an example. So we're going to lay out the issue explicitly. I have noticed that you're not completing the work tasks that have been set out for you in a timely manner, and that deadlines are not being met. I feel disappointed when this happens because I can't get my work done without everybody's input. Okay, there's the perspective from you. There's here's how I'm feeling about the situation, and here is explicitly what this situation is. Don't dance around the topic. Straight to the point, be honest. What are your thoughts? So I'm actually asking for their perspective. What's going on for you? What can we do about it? So insert your active listening skills in here. And then hopefully you can have that beautiful conversation where you're getting to a point where they now understand your perspective and you're beginning to understand theirs. Okay, thank you. I understand now. How can I support you to achieve this? How can I make sure that you can reach out to me for assistance on these work tasks so that you can get them done in the deadlines that I've been set? Are the deadlines too tight? Sometimes the deadlines just are what they are. So how can we support you to achieve this? You could already have a solution. You may have already thought of a solution. But instead of saying, I'd like it to be done like this, and say, perhaps next time, let's do it this way. What do you think? I have another example. I need to talk to you about the conversation I overheard with the customer. It was a customer with the blue car. Can you explain to me what happened? So getting on the front foot and just saying, what happened? I heard it. Now, I wasn't happy with that conversation because I felt as though that my team member was actually getting quite frustrated with that customer. So I'm listening to what's going on for them. I'm repeating back, okay, so you were frustrated because they were getting a little bit abusive with you. Okay, great. I understand how you felt in the situation now. However, it's really important that when you feel frustrated, excuse yourself from the conversation so we don't make the customer feel uncomfortable. And then perhaps next time. Or it could be, that customer was really getting quite angry with me and I felt it was unreasonable. Okay, that's okay. Come and get me. And if I'm not there, step away. Do we need to provide you with some customer service training? Would you like some support there? Can we provide some training? So there's lots of options that you can have in that conversation to support that person, and try and have a think about those beforehand so that you've got them there. So you're supporting that person in achieving it. And, customers are important to your business. So that's just a couple of examples of how to have really productive, difficult conversations. Own your half. Don't assume what's going on for them. Don't assume that they understand your perspective. So explicitly explain what the issue is. Get back to how it made you feel. Understand that the other person's perspective, because that's important. Everybody comes with a different perspective. Offer support. Can be training. Every situation will be completely different, but you'll understand what it is at the time with your particular person. So fabulous. So go out there and start creating your beautiful high-performing teams. Difficult conversations don't have to be difficult. They can be quite productive conversations. So thank you for listening. If you need some support on this, I will be delivering a little bit more content within the group. Please invite others if you feel they need it. It's a great little support group. I've designed this as a group for people, like-minded people, to get together and have these tools and tips and stuff up their sleeves. I do this for my work, for my job, for my beautiful business. So if you need support in this space, yell out. Expectations clear from the start. I can support you and your management team in order to achieve whatever goals you're setting out to do in a number of ways. It's never a set, here's how it is. I can offer mentoring and coaching. I've done it with massive businesses in the city, a lot of accounting firms in the city. Let's get across where you're at, and keep an eye out, because I'll be posting a health check out here, so that you can actually send that to your boss, or if it's your business, have a quick check on to make sure that you've got everything in place that you think you need. And then you can reach out and have a chat with me for free. All of this is for free. And I can really get to understand where you're going and give you some guidelines on how you should progress. And if you so choose, then I can help you do that. If not, I can point you in the direction that might you might be able to do some of it on your own, or have a consultant that is more suited to you and your business. Have a marvelous Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. Please invite your friends and colleagues to join the group if they are wanting some tips and tricks. I'm going to sign off now. Have a marvelous day. Thank you all for being present. Thank you all.